It's one thing to draft a draft class. It's another thing to get them on the field. What will it look like for this group of new Chiefs today on Locked On Chiefs?
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Ryan Tracy, founder of Rogue Analytics and Performance Consulting, NFL33.com and RGRFootball.com. Thanks for coming back. Welcome to the Locked On Chiefs, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Thanks for making us your first listen. Make another Locked On show your next one because they're all running. We have a ton to talk about. And this is going to be a fun show. You can find all my work on all my outlets. Check out NFL 33 for me and my staff running down the front office aspect of everything across the league. And if you want all that much more, any breaking news, any signings, and anything that happens with the Chiefs, 816-357-8781. This is going to be fun. I get to run it down myself. Chris is on vacation. I hope you guys are having a good time. So what am I going to talk about? Well, we're going to run down each draft pick and how they fit. We'll end with which UDFA has the best chance to not only make the roster or the practice squad, but to contribute. We're going to go through those. Before that, how do the picks on defense get onto the field? What are going to be their roles, as well as where we start on the offensive side of the ball, taking a look at how each draft pick fits into this team, not only in 2025, but in 2026 and onward. So we start at the top. It all fell through just the way that I wanted. If you guys missed all of our pre-mock drafts, Mock Draft Monday for the last 3 months has been a lot of, do I put Josh Simmons to the Chiefs yet again? Off camera, a lot of arguments between Chris and I about, hey, you keep wanting to do the same thing. You got to change it up. And that's true. And for the most part, that was him telling me about two prospects in general. He's actually really good about changing up the scenarios, whereas I keep coming back to the same prospects. Josh Simmons was one of them. And it just made sense. They got it done. They waited it out. They were more forbearing, I think, than the rest of the league in trying to get comfortable with the medicals. Now, I think this selection in particular is all about how this season is going to go. They knew he was hurt, but they knew what they had in him. They've seen him develop. From San Diego State to Ohio State, they've been tracking him. They've had a lot of contact. How does he fit in this year? If everything goes to plan, he probably doesn't play offense this year. If he does, it might be a few snaps as a sixth tackle, much like Kingsley Suamataia did last year, that kind of thing. But you want him to fully recover. The knee, October, I believe, was the injury. Getting back to year one is a humongous feat. Getting back to your true self takes about a year more. And I think that's the bigger difference. And I think they did this on purpose, knowing Josh Simmons needs to sit the bulk of this year. He's ahead of schedule. He looks good. That's great. You got to take it easy with him. This is a selection. And especially when they knew he was injured, taking him in this round at 32, and good move, by the way. If you missed my conversation with Matt Derrick, we both agreed on that. You can go back and listen to that from Wednesday. You made the investment. Now you got to make sure that it pays off by not rushing him onto the field. And I actually think this plays into why and how they brought in Jalen Moore. Jalen is an underpaid and risky asset at left tackle. Now they believe he can grow into a starter, but they didn't pay him like a starter. He's making $15 million a year, and I think that is certainly manageable because I think this is part of the plan. If Jalen either fails out or we don't think that he's as good at left tackle, Jalen Moore goes over to right tackle in 2026. So Josh Simmons sits in 2025, becomes the left tackle in 2026. Jalen Moore goes over to right tackle in 2026. Kingsley Suamataia hopefully has won the job at left guard. And now you have three guys new to this team, young, aggressive, and ready to go at your offensive line to go with two all-pros, or nearly all-pros, in Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith. That is a recipe to make the last 8 years, 10 years of Patrick Mahomes' career cush and protected and comfortable. And that's what you're looking for. So a lot of effort there, but I do think it plays into their overall scheme. Now, the Chiefs went 3 picks on defense in day 2. They come back on day 3. Jalen Royals. I'll play that both Dan and I from RGR Football and Rogue Analytics, we had up in the 3rd round. They wait all the way to the bottom of the 4th, and they get him to come in here. It leaves a little bit of opportunity there for Jalen Royals if he's the 4th. Now, that's if Rashee Rice is not suspended in any way and is available. He can take up that 4th position, probably 5th to begin with, as Juju Smith-Schuster and his experience is probably going to win out, at least out of camp. I think the odd man out here is Sky Moore. I think Nico Romeo can make this roster as a returner. We'll see if that changes with the next guy we'll talk about. But what happens on offense turns out to be availability for both injury of Hollywood Brown in case anything happens there. He is still fairly recovering. I know he got back, but I wouldn't say he was 100% last season. And then the Rice situation will break it down. Royals can play quite a bit, and I do expect him to get on the field regardless. But because of those situations, it may be earlier than we thought. I think it's a solid pick, and it's somebody who can get on the field as a rookie. Brashard Smith is a different story. He will be fighting with Elijah Mitchell for a 3rd down back type role. He is not an everyday ball carrier. He is not a workhorse. That's what Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt are for. Even Carson Steele to some effect. And I do think Carson will be more of a true fullback this year. Maybe less running than we thought or that we saw last year. And so what does that mean? It means Brashard Smith has to make an impression. Elijah Mitchell has experience, but also has injury issues. So there's a possibility that he can get onto this roster initially as a guy that is a gadget or a returner. And I do think he has return ability. So that also makes him more of an all-purpose guy that Dave Toub can look to. And that's his path. Most likely, he's a practice squad running back that maybe gets spot duty and gets pulled up, especially for return duties at times, and is on injury watch. He's a break glass guy to start this. We'll see what happens in OTAs, and certainly in training camp, maybe that can turn around. Now, that's just what I think of the initial look at the offensive draft picks, but they're not alone. They have brethren on the defensive side. We're going to take a look at them coming up next. Did you know Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into a gaming and entertainment hub with Fire Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe, or sign into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to go. Dive into hundreds of premium titles, including EA Sports College Football 25 and Call of Duty, as easily as you stream your favorite shows. Call of Duty is one of the ones that I play whenever I get time, especially in the offseason. You can jump into it as easily as just turning it on and getting your control. No console. It makes a huge difference. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller are required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K, the 2nd gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max 1st and 2nd gen, and Fire TV Cube 3rd gen. Now, as you know, I have content everywhere. You can find it at Rogue APC if you want to go back and look at the Matrix, buy the draft guide. If you missed out on it pre-draft, it's still available. Use the code LOC. You'll get a discount. Check out our content on NFL 33 with me and my staff looking at the league and how the Chiefs fit into it. There is a piece that is up there now specifically to what the Chiefs do to maximize Mahomes. Don't miss that. And check me out along with my other staff on RGR Football. A lot going on here. And if you've watched the show for any time, as we're going towards our 9th season here, you know that I like defense. And I am here to see the defenses strike back at all the pretty quarterbacks. And the Chiefs made a concerted effort to make me and Steve Spagnuolo very happy on day 2. They did a heck of a job. Now, there's been a lot of controversy at pick 63 for Omar Norman Lott. I'm not sure why that is. A couple of people that I trust were not as high on him as I was. I had him as a 55 to 60 player on my board. I believe that is the correct grade because of what he does. And the only thing that he has to do in Kansas City is this: go hunt the quarterback. That's what he's here for. He's not here to be a 3-down tackle. He's not here to try to grow into a role where he has to play double teams and he has to eat pullers around the corner. No, he is here when it is down in distance longer than 7 yards to go hit the quarterback. That's what he's for, and he does it exceptionally. He's got a great motor. He doesn't have a lot of snaps. He's a guy that played on a platoon system ×3 that did not give him enough, yet he was able to stand out in the way that he rushes the passer. He's got to get on the field. He's got to play on those third downs and a lot of second downs, let's be honest. If they're longer than 7 yards to go, he's got to be on the field in second down as well to help Chris Jones. Mike Pennell, Jerry Tillery, even Fabian Lovett, who is a guy that I really like, not prepared to be the pass rusher Omar Norman is. He's got to get in there and get active. Now, it doesn't mean that there can't be another veteran acquired, especially of more of a run defender, first down type player, whereas Norman is more a second and definitely third down player. But they acquired someone to help Chris and George Karlaftis get to the passer. That's what he's going to do. Then they came back. Just a few picks later, took Ashton Gelati, a guy that you have heard me on this show talk about over and over and over. Maybe no one more so than Gelati. Maybe Ty Robinson is about the only other player that I projected as much because of his fit. He's just a monster. He's a little Tasmanian devil at 265 pounds, and he's ready to come get the quarterback, and that's why it helps. Is he going to be a starter year one? No, I do not think so in any way, shape, or form. He will be a guy that comes in relief, that is part of the rotation. It should be Charles Omenihu and George Karlaftis at end all year long. Knock on wood, everybody stays healthy. That's the way it should be. With Chris Jones, Norman Lott inside on passing downs, and probably Mike Pennell or a player to be named later on rushing downs early in drives. That said, you're going to work in Mike Dana, who deserves playing time. Not trying to slight Mike at all, and he deserves it both at edge and on the interior. He might be a candidate to be the first down defensive tackle next to Chris Jones. I'm just not sure if he can hold up the whole season playing that much on first down, but we'll find out. And then you have the question mark in Felix Anudike-Uzomah, who they spent a first-round pick on earlier in this process of trying to rebuild the defensive front. So you have to make sure you get him snaps as well, because that you can't let that become a fruitless endeavor. You have to continue to feed FAU. So where Gelati comes in is when you need to rotate that to keep everybody fresh. When you have 4 pass rushers on the edge that you can move around, it makes life a little bit easier. Does it mean less snaps for George Karlaftis? I really don't think so. But I do think it means less snaps for Charles Omenihu, which is a good thing with his injury history. It means maybe less opportunity for FAU because you have to get Gelati onto the field. But in particular, the NASCAR package is where Ashton Gelati will shine, especially if they have the choice to rush 5. You get Norman Lott and Chris Jones inside on the A-gaps, and you get the edge players in any combination that includes both George Karlaftis and Ashton Gelati, along with anybody else that's an edge rusher in this group, including FAU. You are cooking with gas. And I think that's the kind of thing that allows Steve Spagnuolo to not have to blitz as much, to be able to not have to be so sneaky in a good way, so that he can rush with 4, and in this case 5, and get to the quarterback. That's what it's about. As much as you need to support Mahomes on the offensive side of the ball, you have to be able to crush the quarterback on this side of the ball. And that all goes into winning ball games by bigger margins than last year. Maybe the tightest margins we've seen in Mahomes' era were last year. Sneaky wins, tight wins, last-second wins. Want to get rid of all that. You stop the opposing offense, it helps Patrick Mahomes. And that is all feeding into bigger margins, better chances, and most importantly, that shot at having a defense that can shut down the other team in the Super Bowl. I think it just may be the Eagles. We'll talk about my preseason predictions coming up here later. But they didn't stop there. They went and moved up to get Noah Williams, maybe one of the 2 best DBs in this class in terms of ball production. There's Noah Williams, who got 7 interceptions last year, and there's Xavier Watts, who fell a little bit in this draft for, I think, athletic reasons, but still was very productive with 6 interceptions last year. These guys have been producing, and I mean producing. The nice thing about Williams is he's also going to produce TFLs. He can rush the passer. He has PBUs. He can break them up, not just when he takes the ball away, and that does help. He's a guy that I think has an opportunity to get in there and mix it up with the likes of Christian Fulton and Jalen Watson to try to steal a starting role. Now, nobody's taking time away from Trent McDuffie. It's who's going to be on the field with Trent McDuffie. And Noah Williams has as good an option as anyone does to be that guy. Jalen Watson will put up a fight. I'm not sure that Joshua Williams can. We're going to find out. Hopefully, Joshua Williams comes back with a new lease on life and a new attitude. And quite frankly, a better, consistent approach to the game because Noah Williams is going to push him. He's not quite as big. So Joshua does have some advantages there. It's not cut and dry. But I think at least as an outside corner, he would be third in the rotation, probably fourth if he didn't quite get there. Because I do think CRW still deserves reps, maybe more as a nickel safety defender, certainly not on the outside as much. And I think that's where Noah Williams will live. And I like the pick and I like the fit. The other thing they did on defense is they came back and got Jeffrey Bossa. Again, traded up. This is a guy that was on my board in the third round. They came back and got him in the fifth with the 20th pick. And he can do it all. He can play special teams for you tomorrow. He will push Cam Jones and Jack Cochran for time. He will be able to learn the defense. He's played every role in college. I think that from what Matt Derrick has told us, we think that he's going to lean towards Will in this particular defense, but I wouldn't necessarily put it past him to try him at Sam. That's where they've tried some other things to try to get athleticism onto the field, and he has it. He was Matrix 5 in this class, and I do think he has an ability to carve out a role to supplement, not replace, but supplement Drew Tranquil on some snaps. Maybe Chanel on a couple of snaps, especially if they're pass-oriented. He can do a little bit of everything. He can make calls. He's a kid that can grow into a role on this defense as we move forward. But as a rookie, I think will be mostly teams and some spot duty here and there. That's perfectly fine. That is a good defensive draft haul, and I think that is the start of a very good season. But you always have to fill in the gaps. What are those gaps? That's where the UDFAs come in. We're going to get to them coming up next. Make sure you like and sub and hit the bell. Go over to RGR Football and get to NFL 33. Check out KC Chiefs Corner with Chris. We have a lot going on there. It's a really, really interesting group of UDFAs this year. There's not a ton of opportunity to make the roster. That's the thing. When I look down, names stand out. Elijah Badger had a draftable grade. Certainly a lot of people excited about him. I'll come back to him. Dalton Cooper, offensive tackle, has a lot of folks. Big dude. Has a lot of folks think he can make it as well. That is more of an Ethel Driscoll pick. I would think practice squad eligible type. Jacoby Covington has a lot to his game that I think he can hone up and may be able to fight for a roster spot next year. And I do like that. But the guys that stand out the most as having something to offer right now as rookies comes down to Jay Bringingstool. They paid him a lot of money because they wanted to get him on this roster. I think he is a guy that can make this roster, especially if Wiley is not ready to go. He's a pass-catching tight end with a lot of production, a lot of wiggle, and a lot of route running that he is capable of doing. He is not a blocker. We are not going to a run-first offense. Andy Reid will never do that, but it certainly won't be with Bringingstool. So look for him. Watch what he does. I think he will make an impression, not only in OTAs, but certainly in camp. And I think a lot of people are going to get very, very high on him very quickly. Now, my personal favorite, Rock Chalk Jayhawk, is Jared Casey, who's done a lot of things for the Jayhawks. He can be a fullback. He can be a tight end. He can be an H. He is not scared to do just about anything. And I love the fit as the utility player the Chiefs could use in spot duty for some maybe more of the creative things that Andy Reid loves to do. So personal favorite. We'll see what he can do. He's in for, I believe it's a minicamp invite. So he's going to get through the first layer and then get to OTAs. But keep an eye out for him. I'm interested to see what he does. As we go down the list, a lot of possibilities, a lot of minicamp invites, guys that need to make an impression at first. Brandon George is a linebacker that I think has good athleticism, good size, and should be somebody that has a chance to push for at least a practice squad spot as well. And maybe the other dark horse to not only make the practice squad, but even an outside chance at the roster is Keziah Ezzard from Penn State, the defensive tackle. Not a ton of production, but a lot of upside in his athleticism and what he can become. So keep an eye out for him. All those guys, I think, have an opportunity to fight for a roster spot. Certainly to fight for a practice squad spot. And these days, with the rules, I think a practice squad spot is nearly equal to the 50th guy on the roster. 50th guy is only playing teams. He's not getting a whole lot of playing time on his original position, and honestly, could be turned around on a dime. Same thing with the practice squad elevations, right? They're not very different at this point. I actually think the NFL should just go to a 70-man roster with no game day limits. That's what I think they ought to do. I would love to see that for this game. As we look through the rest, a lot of invites, maybe on offense. My second favorite, and maybe the more likely to make the roster, is Isapole. I've told you about him a little bit. Was draftable easily on my board. I believe I had him in the 5th. No, 6th, I believe. Wazoo tackle, gave up 0 sacks. Or, I'm sorry, single sack in 2024. That's it. Big dude. Good arm length. Good movement skills. Somebody I think can grow into a swing tackle, if nothing else, and has a chance to fight for this roster like Ethan Driscoll did last year. And that may be the path that he will be on. I'm looking forward to seeing those guys. I want to know who you guys are looking forward to seeing, because there are a ton of them out there. This may churn. The minicamp invites, they're going to get a look, and then they might get signed. We're going to have to keep track of that. A number of free agents here will move on to other rosters, because quite frankly, it's a lot harder to make the Kansas City Chiefs roster than it is anywhere else in this league. So keep an eye out for your favorite guy, see what he becomes, see what happens. OTAs are around the corner. We're going to get a look at a lot of these guys, because you got to get an initial evaluation in this system, whether it's offense or defense, in order to be able to project where you want to put them, how many reps they should get come the last phase of OTAs, in particular mini camp, and then on to training camp. So a lot of evaluation heavy work goes in now. We will be back next week to continue looking down, pick up the pieces of any information that we're getting as we get ready to see these teams, these players on the field in OTAs. I hope that you guys will enjoy it. I hope you enjoy your weekend. I'm going to go try to enjoy mine. Thanks for being with me today. Make sure that you like and sub and do all the things on all the places that we ask you to check out, because we appreciate you and we want to communicate with you, whether here on the Locked On Chiefs podcast or any of our other outlets. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you next time.